Hello. Just yeah, the main thing going on is the media is being very political. And so one of the things they've talked about is transgender athletes, right? Now, for me, I'm thinking that they're doing this because they want us to accept having transgender athletes competing, because that's generally what they want with their money. And if you know what I'm saying, even though they're massively advantaged financially, they still want to be considered equal politically. This is just not on, man. That's what I'm thinking they're doing. They're using the transgender athlete thing to transpose their political aspirations as mainstream culture. Okay, and so a few things. I've made a call or two to the old radio, and I said to this guy, see, in New Zealand, right, we've got superannuation, which is when you retire, you get the government pension, and here we call it superannuation. I don't know what's going on in your country, but in New Zealand, they do not means test for superannuation, and I've got a problem with this. I rang up the radio, and another embedded media personality has taken over the talkback radio in the mornings, and I said to him that that superannuation should definitely be means tested, because the thing of it is, the political implications of that, right, has far-reaching effects, actually. Because it makes, that they actually have a siege mentality, right? And they imprint this on society with media, right? And this is why mostly it's conflict in the media, and it's thorough. This aspiration that they have it has thoroughly infiltrated the government. So my political party, the TNIL, we are going to means test superannuation, because if that is the perspective of the development of our civilization, right? This is why you get all this collateral damage, right? And it influences everything. It actually, in fact, it could even be said that they're doing this. They're not means testing superannuation because that's the political system they want, where everyone's hoarding wealth. And so you get all these people, they've got all these trusts, and it's time to just pull the pin on that way of things, man. I tell you what, because they act like they have no memory. You know, they act like they have no memory, and so what are they going to do next? You know, because these people who see the thing is, people who think that anxiety is wisdom, which is why they don't means test superannuation, because they're actually, their political powers hinged on the belief that anxiety is wisdom, so they're philosophically underwritten by anxiety, is why they don't seem to have a memory. And they imply at all times that the public's stupid. And and so my political party, we're going to means test for that, because we need to shift focus from wealthy people, the political focus from wealthy people to the middle class. And that way, the causes of all these statistics, we can actually do something about that. And so we're going to do that. Another thing is, see, the Green Party are the same. They think they're all about the environment, and I don't think they are, because they haven't had, nothing's been announced, no decent big idea's been announced from the Greens. I mean, they've taken the plastic bags out of the supermarkets. They've done that. I can't really think of anything else. So my first two green things are that all foodstuffs has to be sold in a stainless steel container with a glass lid. You know, and that means no more packaging in the rubbish. And it needs to be worth something, you know. And so there will be organised a return system at the supermarket, right? Yeah. And yeah. Because that will totally eliminate plastic. This is for everything, you know. And that's the good thing. That's the good thing. You know, stainless steel container, which can be like, you know, 20 microns thick, you know. And you press it out in a press, and then you put a glass lid on it. And that's completely reusable. So the other thing is about electric cars. You see, we don't actually need electric cars, right? We don't need electric cars. No. What we need to do is change the powertrains of the cars we have. Okay, so the idea would be to swap out the engine and gearbox of the car, or the truck, or fucking anything, and you know, you have an electric wheel. You have an electric wheel. So that's what I'm going to do if I'm the government, is start up a manufacturing enterprise producing electric wheels, and so then it will be really cool. And so that's two green things I've got there. So yeah, it's a bit of a worry, because it does actually, you know, if we were to go green, you know, we'd have to, the way the world works will have to change. And that's a fact, man. A fact. Another green thing, it's kind of a green thing, but I think we should nationalise all supermarket activity, because they're using it as a way of printing money, eh? They're profiteering out of it like you wouldn't believe. And it's fucking ridiculous, man. It's completely, it's spectacularly crazy, man. Because I know everyone's just following along from the last generation or whatever, but what is the reason that people do this? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's fucking, you can't take it with you when you die. So yeah, there's another one. You know, and then the producers will get, we're able to totally lower the price of it, and also the producers will get more money for it. And yeah, I think that's fair. I think immigration's going to have to be just squashed, eh? Because the immigration levels, which is about 70,000 a year, 70,000 a year on a population of 4.5 million. And so the reason that the immigration is at those levels is a political reason, because they want to disempower the locals politically, and this is what's going on, man. It's like, and I'm you know, you know, I know New Zealand could have a lot more people in it, and I think after the qualification of the revelation of the 8 laws is mainstream, it's a household name thing, once everyone knows that, then the means to accommodate more people will be there. Because it's quite a hideous thing what they've done. They've promoted the idea that Kiwi young people are useless, you know, and back in the 90s, 2000s, back in the 2000s, there was a big push of something called youth culture, right? Youth culture. And this was a media-driven initiative. But what it does is it disenfranchises youth from the community, actually. You know, it creates their own political environment, right? And then they've been attacking the education system for quite some time for this aspiration of this elitist ideology, which is a product of believing that anxiety is virtuous, right? And so they've messed with the young people very significantly, like no apprenticeship schemes. You've got finance companies just lining up to provide youth with finance for things. You've got the music has also been used. They've see the media control the music that's published, and they have been heavily focusing on non-white music. Okay, and they've got the radio station here called the Rock radio station, and it was really good when it started. But now it's very metrosexual rock. It's like a lot of it isn't rock, it's pop, and they call it rock. And it's like Pearl Jam, right? Pearl Jam is not rock music, but that's one of the Rock's favourite bands. Pearl Jam is rock music for really depressed people. It's interesting too how hip hop. I'm just going to say it, man. If you want to validate this, you look up schizophrenia simulation on YouTube, and I'm thinking hip hop is like some kind of inverted schizophrenia experience, and it's the constant. It's just this looped riff, if you will, over and over and over and over and over and over. And it's got this heavy insistence that I'm the best and I'm this and I'm that. And it's like, this is fucking sounding like schizophrenia, man, to me, eh? And then you got all this modern culture where now they're trying to attack the free speech, and they're trying to say this and say that, and what language is permitted, and that is also one of the biggest aspirations of anxiety, right? Is to minimise language, minimise communication. Nobody is the optimum political aspiration of anxiety, the political entity, in regards to relationships, is that nobody should have a relationship. Okay, you're only allowed a relationship with anxiety, And so we see the news every night. Crime, politics, war, finance, sports. Every night. Crime, politics, war, finance, sport. Every night. Because anxiety is a criminal, political, conflict-orientated, financialist sportsman. See, all those things are things anxiety likes. Crime, politics, war, finance, and sport. And this is easy to see because, while they say that housing is a human right, which I would think so. They've allowed it to be a market, which is effectively turning it into a sport. It turns these investment properties people, they can then play it like a sport. And how many places have they got, and it's like, that's all about to change, I tell you what. It's all about to change, and it'll be pretty significant, right? Because it costs a lot of money, but the TNIL party wants to buy every single investment property in the country, right? Every single one. And because have you ever tried to talk to someone with a big mortgage commitment? Have you ever tried to talk to someone with big financial responsibilities to a mortgage, right? Have you? Because I have. And what I know is that they can't talk. They're so infatuated and obsessed and immersed in the stressful business of their anxieties, right? It's bloody chronic, man. I tell you what, it is really chronic. So this one I'm staying with here. I was paying, $200, a week, right? And so I hadn't even really moved in, and she was inviting me to think about how good it would be if I paid $400 a week for 6 months, and then I didn't have to pay rent for 6 months. Right. Now I know what you probably might think of that, and that's probably what I was thinking too. And so it's, and my last landlord was exactly the same. I had another landlord, and I'd only lived there about a month, and all of a sudden I'd owed him 5 weeks rent. I was 5 weeks late on my rent. And, they completely, they are very different, in a very different state of mind than people who do not have a mortgage. Right, and so that's such a large percentage of the community are in that position where they have a mortgage, and it's quite serious, right? This is having a big effect on the rest of us, right? And it's party, so we can see there that the aspirations of the left in the current political situation, where they're bringing in this free speech thing, where they want to create hate speech laws, right? This is very in keeping with the preferred quantity of communicating that a lot of these people like to do. Effectively, these people believe that anxiety is wisdom. And the mortgage thing is, that's the sum total. They've brought themselves into a situation where it's not a house, it's not a home, it's an investment property. They didn't have to buy it, right? They did it because they wanted to be rich, and now they're justified in believing that anxiety is virtuous. And so all the mortgage owners, they're of this political, their political view is cut from this cloth, right? It's the same cloth that the super annuitants that don't want to get means tested, they're pushing the thing that anxiety is virtuous, right? The media that has facilitated the situation with the housing, they're 100% complicit with it, and telling bad news all the time is promoting anxiety as virtuous. So they are implicated by virtue of that. And so this is why it's so important. This articulation of the revelation of the 8 laws is so important, because it qualifies these things. It qualifies these things, and that there is a qualification of these things, then we may have a say in what is going on. And so yeah, they're all talking about the next election, and they're talking about this Labour government is they have not honoured a single promise. And then it struck me, in the whole of history, right? Every socialist minded government like ever, actually always resulted in a dictatorship. You know, it always resulted in a dictatorship, and so that's what came to mind, you know. And so those are some of the things I'm thinking about, for the next election. Now, concurrently with this next election thing, so I was talking to this builder. He's down the road here. He's relocating a house on the site down the road, right? And I ran past him some of the stuff I was just telling you now, just, you know, about the political party and what you know. And he was quite happy to take the pamphlet, man. He thought it was pretty cool what I was saying. And he's like mid-30s probably, and he was like, yeah. And I told him the rundown, the path of learning it, you know, the discovery, you know. That I realised that the media telling bad news all the time is promoting anxiety as virtuous. And that caused me to realise that anxiety is a political entity because it governs language. And then I back engineered that to, it is the event of birth that culture shocks anxiety into existence. And then, while the mind does not possess language, and then when we start to speak, we instinctively conceptualise consciousness according to the means of expression. But pre-existing that is this idea that anxiety is wisdom. Because the culture shock event of birth might have been an anxiety thing, brought the values of anxiety into existence, but consciousness would have thought it was amazing. And that's where the idea that anxiety is wisdom comes from, right? And so this is this world that it's created, right? And so a couple of other things on the old political party thing is the reality of religion is that religion has to go because religion promotes anxiety as wisdom. But a couple of things about Jesus, right? See, the thing is this. One thing about it is this, is that because Jesus was such a long time ago, to involve that in any rationale of something now, this is actually a highly immoral practice to do this. It's a highly immoral practice to do this. And doing that is largely a catalyst of why things haven't changed. Then, of course, this business of heaven. Well, if people believe in heaven, well, that politically disassociates the person from actually not only their own life, but the place they are. You know, this is virtual schizophrenia, man. Tell you what. You know, and then Jesus said, what he really said was, you know, you don't start living until you're dead. Basically, is what the promise of heaven is about. And so it's all about political subjugation, which is the business of anxiety, right? And it's really a replication of the event of anxiety in the mind, right? And so I'm going to be bringing that up into it fairly heavily because there's a lot more. The religious people in the world are a lot less than the non-religious people in the world. And I believe when the non-religious people get this message, right, that will put the two in actual in their proper context according to reality, actually. where religion is, it's a system, it's a political system to subjugate, I mean, primarily the Caucasian people, actually. And they've done the same thing to people from the Arab lands by writing a religious thing for them, too. Because, you know, before religion came along, people of the Arab lands and the people of the Caucasian lands were kind of the same thing, man. According to our spirituality, right, where we lived with the land, you know, we lived in a balance with the land, right? We considered astronomy highly important, and we had, before religion existed, we had vast knowledge handed down for centuries and millennia about astronomy and, you know, effectively academic wisdom, you know. And so when religion came along, it created a reason to argue. Religion is its own self-fulfilling prophecy, because it just generates arguments, man. It subjugates the people. It subjugates the people that believe in it. Because, you know, a couple of things, man, you know, the image of the cross and Jesus on the cross, right? You see it in churches, you see it in necklaces, right? That's not Jesus on that cross. It's you. That's what it is. It's you. It's not Jesus on the cross, right? It is you. Just think about that. It's not Jesus on the cross, it's you. Now, of course, if you're watching this video, it's probably not you at all. You've probably for many, many years yearned for the articulation of how much you don't like religion at all. How much it disturbs oneself, right? And so to put right what has been put wrong, you know, kind of, I'm getting the impression, back in the day before religion existed, the thing is that, you know, spirituality had a much, much higher presence in with people in the community, you know. Because effectively, you know, religion has created a middleman. It has you know, religion has forced itself on the world as a middleman between the people and our own spirituality, right? And that's pretty offensive. And so I'm saying this. I'm saying it, man. I'm fucking saying it. Fuck. I'm going to go as public as I can, man. Because the radio guy there, Peter Williams, right? Now he's an ex-Catholic. You know, as so many media people are. And I'm telling you, so many of them are. I reckon Australian media is loaded with them. Like, really loaded with them. And New Zealand media would be too. See, the thing with New Zealand is it's peaceful and it's nice and the weather's okay, and so we don't really give a shit too much about that side of it, right? And so yeah, that's the fact of that, man. You know, it's like, But our media's still probably loaded with it. John Key, the last Prime Minister, he was John Key was the last Prime Minister, but he quit. And then Bill English took over, and he's Catholic. You know, so you have to be either ex-Catholic. You either have to have a Catholic background or you're a homosexual. Now, why would they like homosexuals, man? What's up with that, man? Because they're defending this scam that they are better than us, that they are smarter than us and all this. So, I reckon, you know what, I'll say this, right? With the TNIL party as government, I'm going to make a bold prediction that New Zealand will be the next country to land people on the moon. New Zealand will do it, right? I'm pretty fucking sure. I'm pretty sure, man. Because all the development of things, it follows this business of people can't perceive anything outside the jurisdiction of anxiety, right? Outside the jurisdiction of the 8 laws, right? And that's why development in every direction it's non-existent, actually. It's just non-existent, man. You know, I mean, for what they've done, for what this control has done, and the music is a good example of that. You know, the media is a good example of that. Because the thing is this, I know this, is that, you know, the silent majority, you know, they have exceeded the means of the government to govern us, you know, and that's why they want the theatre of feminism and hate speech laws and all this kind of shit, man, you know. And so that shooting event in Christchurch, people have still got massive question marks about that. The guy was saying the other day he was worried about the disappearing bullet casings. And so, yeah. So the public has an opinion that is not of the narrative of the media. So, yeah. There's a great video about this little talk we're having, right? Okay, I would have you look up something called Amazon Self. The full prologue to Meme Wars episode 5. The Establishment Strikes Back. It is amazing. And so, yeah. So there's that going on. I've told a bunch of people, you know. I'll tell you, I'm not far off public meetings, actually, right? I'm not far off public meetings. Because the thing there, the things I was saying about religion there, that is the true thing of it. You know, here's the thing, right? The West is rich, right? Okay. The West has Caucasian culture, right? The West is rich, right? So it can be said that that really the highest belief of Caucasian people is that it is the expression of consciousness, right? And the chief element of that is creativity. And so this is why the West is rich. You see, this is why religion was invented. It was to subjugate us.